Hi, this is Charles Felix with Cannabis News Florida. We're at FMCCE in Orlando, Florida. A beautiful day in Orlando. And we're at the Rosen Center Hotel. If you're around, we still got a day and a half left. Come on down. We got plenty of exhibitors to see what's going on. One of the exhibitors, one of the people that are in the cannabis business for years and years, is Jodi James, the founder of Flcan, an organization that we have medical cannabis in the state of Florida because of Jodi and Flcan. Welcome, Jodi. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you very much.
So tell our audience what Flcan is and what you have done over the years.
Excellent. Well, that's a great opportunity for me to talk about all the wonderful people who have been part of Florida Cannabis Action Network over the decades. Flcan is actually a 28-year-old organization in the space, so one of the first in Florida. It was funny, after 2014, when you went into Sunbiz, there was bajillion businesses with the name Cannabis, and we suddenly weren't number one in the roster anymore.
It happens.
Yeah, but we'd been there forever. So we were founded in 1998, basically to give a voice to patients in the state of Florida who were actively trying to change the law. We got involved, personally I got involved, there was a festival, and I thought, well, I know that medical marijuana works for me, and all you have to do to change the law is get people together and, you know, First Amendment, sign a petition, and go talk to your lawmakers.
The way America works.
It'll be done.
That's right.
It'll be done, 1998. So it didn't work quite that way, but Florida Cannabis Action Network was actually founded because of all of the problems we had getting permits to get out and do public education. And it's funny because everybody that I talk to here is like, well, I'm an educator. I'm an educator. And really 25, 30 years ago, if you wanted to be an educator in this issue, you really had to be willing to forego having a career in anything else because it was going to adversely affect whatever you might be doing going forward. So we had a lot of people who were anonymous members, right?
Absolutely.
Because they couldn't afford for their security clearance or for their job to find out who they were. And all of these people knew how wonderful cannabis was. They knew how well it worked, but they really didn't have anyone in the state of Florida who was willing to go out and say, we speak for the plant and we speak for the patients. And Florida Cannabis Action Network became that organization that spoke for the plant and spoke for the patients. About 15 years ago, we were hosting a little conference with Americans for Safe Access here in Florida. We started looking at the 3 ways that you can change the laws in Florida to protect patients, and of course one of the ways is through the executive branch, and we know how much our governors the last 2 decades have loved cannabis. So the governor's office wasn't really going to be our champion, and you can go to the ballot, and of course that's become a $150 million proposition. So that wasn't really going to work for patients who, you know, had complex medical conditions and were doing the best that they could to just get up every day. They certainly didn't have $150 million or whatever to throw at a constitutional amendment. But what we could do as average, everyday citizens is we could educate ourselves. We could promote the research that was coming out and make sure that other people knew it. One of our projects many years ago was let no ignorance go unanswered, right? Maybe you can't be the guy that's, you know, talking about cannabis to the legislature, but if you're at the water cooler and one of your colleagues says something ignorant, you can go, well, you know what, I just read something about that, and that might not quite be true. Right. So, you know, we spent a lot of time overcoming the myths that were associated with cannabis, and when we made that decision to how do you change the laws, the one that we figured we really could do and make an impact with was the legislature. There's 180 people who are elected to the Florida House and Senate, 160 people elected to the Florida House and Senate. And so we made those 160 people our target as Cannabis Action Network. We went to Tallahassee and taught lawmakers that they had an endocannabinoid system. That was huge. The first bill that was passed in the state of Florida was in 2014. Matt Gaetz championed it on the House floor. I tell people he couldn't pronounce endocannabinoid system, but at least he knew he had one, right? And that was huge for us, because really once you understand that you have an endocannabinoid system and that this plant functions with your endocannabinoid system, everything kind of makes sense from there.
Absolutely. And for a lot of people, even for a lot of docs, don't even understand that.
100%.
So for legislative people to try to understand it, it's a heavy lift.
Heavy lift. When we first went to Tallahassee, I tried to hire lobbyists, and they all laughed at me. So we wouldn't have had enough money to hire a lobbyist 25 years ago, because no one was going to jeopardize their other clients in order to represent the cannabis community. So we found that we needed to do it ourselves, and more than a handful of us. We have an amazing leadership team that has evolved over the decades. We're membership driven, so it's really easy to join, $5 a month or $50 a year. Businesses, we do $250 and up. We have some great events that we do throughout the year, but primarily what we do is we go to Tallahassee during legislative season, committee weeks in session, and we bring people up, doctors, individuals, patients, researchers. In the beginning, we kind of brought experts, right? But once medical marijuana passed and we had gotten past that, then we bring in people who are being impacted so that they can tell their story and lawmakers can understand the impact that the laws that they have are really on the people that are being governed by them.
And some of the changes that, once the law passed, there's still changes that need to be made
100%.
To make it more friendly
100%.
to the patients and the doctors.
So Americans for Safe Access was actually founded in California from a Cannabis Action Network chapter funding Americans for Safe Access. And when we first passed our medical marijuana program, Americans for Safe Access gave us a D-. And I might note that since 2017, when this program really rolled out after the constitutional amendment, we've had no changes. So our patients are still really at a deficit here in Florida because of some of the restrictions that are involved in the program. So we're trying to overcome those restrictions. We're trying to help protect people in their employment. One of the projects that we're going to be working on this year is now that we're a Schedule III drug, there's going to be a lot of implementation language that has to happen with different agencies.
Right.
So we worked with unions most recently to remind unions that as they're going into their new contract, they have they can make a decision to allow cannabis in their contracts. That's something that they now have kind of a legitimate right to do, and so we wanted to encourage that. So pretty exciting time to be in the cannabis space, and we're inviting people to be involved.
It's maturing right now. I mean, we were in infant stage, went to toddler stage. Now it's really maturing because you've had so much experience with patients and doctors that you know the pitfalls, and you try to help the patient as much as possible without really harming the general public.
100%.
And that's one of the things that it's very hard to legislators and others to understand, that the goal is to really make it a safe product for the patient and 100%. For the general public.
100%. And we're starting with a very, very safe plant. The efficacy of the plant itself goes back millennia, right? Thousands of years. But now as we're creating formulations, as they're adding things to the growth cycle of the plant, we don't understand all that we don't know about this plant. So Florida Cannabis Action Network is really whole plant activists. We believe in the whole plant for many, many different purposes. And we're kind of always evolving. Being membership driven, people bring their private projects, what's important to you. What are we going to be working on next year is a lot driven by the membership and what's important to them. So it's a great place to, you have an idea and you want people to help you with it. It's a really great place to get involved and use the tools that the leadership has and bring your new energy to it. We think that gives people an opportunity to really express themselves in this space.
And it's interesting. A lot of doctors, and there are over 2,000 in the state, a lot of patients, over 900,000 in the space, the FMCCEs, which are currently 23, 24 operating, all of them benefit from Florida Can and Jodi. Jodi is the watchdog in Tallahassee. In fact, we have a group, Florida Medical Cannabis Physicians Group, that meets once a month and then twice a month during legislative. And Jodi comes on and gives an update. Now, it may not affect you directly, but everything she does in Tallahassee directs you indirectly or directly, because it evolves in your business. It evolves 100%. In the way you do your business. And nobody's watching it. You don't have time. The doctors don't have time. The MMTCs might have legislative people watching it, but your doctors, your patients, and it's really funny how 900,000 patients don't realize that without this group,
that's true.
Sadly mistaken, you wouldn't have this product to be able to help you medically.
100%.
And it's amazing, and there aren't that many people that are public that come out and talk about that and watch the legislative and get an update.
We do.
And that's one of the reasons why FloridaCan is what they are in the state of Florida.
Thank you. We helped introduce the first pro-cannabis bill since 1978. We shepherded the first bill that ever passed, pro-marijuana bill, in 2014. So we were there for that as we began to build that program. Yeah. And you're right, while the MMTCs might have lobbyists, those lobbyists don't understand the depth of the program. They don't understand the landscape that's happening nationally often, and they have conflicting priorities. Absolutely. They have other clients.
I mean, when you think about it, the MMTCs are there for one reason, the doctors are there for another reason, and Absolutely. The patients are there for another reason.
100%.
And FloridaCan does a good job of blending that all together to make sure that you can't get everything you want, but watches it and really advocates the best for all.
100%. We definitely want to protect our medical marijuana program. There's no question in my mind about that. Patients with complex medical conditions need to have as many barriers removed as possible. You know, one of the things that we have in the program now is some recreational users who just want a permission slip. And then we have so many barriers for the people with Parkinson's and the people with true complex medical conditions, whether it be employment or federal benefits. This move to Schedule 3 is really going to open
Especially
the door
for veterans.
that.
I think for veterans
100%.
It's probably, once the procedures and the policies are actually written down and not just on a piece of paper saying it's Schedule 3, which nobody knows what that means really.
Right.
But once that comes about, I think the group that's really going to benefit the most at that point in time is going to be the veterans.
100%.
Because once it goes federal, all your VA, hospitals and everything that will have benefits out there that you haven't seen before.
And that's a fabulous thing. It'll be interesting. I had one of the docs say, well, you know, let's make sure that under Schedule 3, the only people who can recommend cannabis are OMMU registered doctors. And so I really like the idea of making this a specialty. Right. I go to an oncologist if I have cancer.
Right.
You should be getting, our docs should be getting referrals from oncologists, because as you're adding cannabis to it,
that's right.
You know, that's where you send them. So it just becomes another practitioner in your team.
That's right.
So I'm very excited about where we're going to go. I think the rescheduling conversation is just beginning. It's certainly not over. FloridaCan spent some time through our third branch committee applying to the DEA to be one of the groups that gets to speak to the DEA. So we'll find out in June whether or not we're going to get called on.
Always dealing with the federal government is always a lot of fun.
100%. Well, and we have members who work at the United Nations. So, you know, if you're interested in being kind of in the know, that's a great reason to join Florida Cannabis Action Network. When the WHO made its opinion on CBD that it should be unregulated, because CBD is unregulated now internationally, we kind of knew because our guy was sitting there when the WHO report came out. So he got an embargoed copy and knew before the press knew. So it's a good place to say, you know, I'm supporting the efforts that is making real change. If that's how you want to come into Florida Cannabis Action Network, we'd be glad to have you as a member, you know, because somebody's got to support the good work, and not everybody can be out front.
Right.
And so we appreciate those folks. And then we have other people who are like, I'm going to be out front on this. I want to make a change. It has impacted me positively, or prohibition has impacted me negatively. We get a lot of that too. You know, we still have moms and dads who are having their cannabis used against them in child custody
Right.
sites. How in the world can my medical use, my legitimate, state legal, constitutionally protected, but then I still lose access to my kids?
And it's education. It's education.
100%.
It's going to get there. It takes a long time to do it.
to get where we're going.
So Jodi, tell us, tell the audience, a lot of people, whether you're a business, whether you're a doctor, whether you're just individual user, how to join Florida Can and be in the know.
Easy peasy. Our website is, you can tell we're kind of an early adopter in this. Our website is actually FLCAN. It doesn't get any easier than that. So FLCAN.org. We've been around for 28 years. Right there on our front page it says, click here to get on our mailing list, and certainly we approve of people who aren't sure that they're ready to become a member. But if you support the work that we're doing, if you think this is a great time for you to use your knowledge and be more involved in the industry, it's a great place to become an individual member. Easy peasy, $5 a month or $50 a year. Business memberships at $250 a year, again, very reasonable. We do some advertising, so you can write it off as an advertising expense. So easy to do. Our phone number, same phone number, has been ringing since 1992. Our phone number was on the bulletin board at the First Buyers Club in San Francisco in the 1990s, and that phone number still rings. Florida Cannabis Action Network, 321-253-3673, right?
That's
Extension
great.
9 gets you to me. We have resources for the media, and we're really a network, so surrounded by amazing people. Whether you're interested in cash finance, working with a new bank, whether you're interested in just getting somebody to help edit because small business, you're the editor, you're the producer, you're the publisher. So we work together as a business committee to help you grow your business, pun intended.
And again, part of it is you need to, if you're involved in the industry and want to be up to date. I mean, whether you be, if you're a lawyer, you get up to date. You have a website or an organization for lawyers.
Right.
If you're an accountant, the same situation. If you are concerned about the state of cannabis in Florida, you need to join the organization. Visit their website, see what it's all about, and it's a minimal amount to be able to help support the organization and be part of a movement. So.
And we're not going to trade your best interests for another one of our clients, because our clients are cannabis consumers. I felt like the Lorax for many years. We speak for the trees, we speak for the trees. The plant can't speak for itself, and it's basically benign until you start mucking with it. And as people need access to the plant, we want to continue to move that forward and help people to get the most out of the medicine. So we spend a lot of time talking about public safety. You and I touched base on
Absolutely,
that.
that's correct.
Making sure that consumers are aware, that they understand how to read a QR or how to follow a QR code and understand what's in their medicine. Why are terpenes good? What's minor cannabinoids? These are all things that we work with our members to understand, and information that we're happy to share.
Yeah, and again, you have a doctor, because obviously you got to get a card to be able to see a doctor.
Right.
But this is additional information for yourself.
100%.
And you're really not going to get any better information from an organization that is really qualified and looking out for your interests in the state.
100%.
And I can't say more about it. I've known Jodi been doing this for many years. Many years. Spent some time together in Tallahassee with her, and it's an organization that can use your support. Absolutely. And you will not be sorry that you joined. So
mark your calendars. Our 2027 lobby day is going to be March 8th and 9th in Tallahassee.
Oh, okay, great.
So mark your calendar.
Perfect.
Thanks
Jodi,
for having
thanks
me.
very much. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you.